Portions of this program may not be suitable for those under the age of 18. Parental guidance is suggested.
Beer 30 is when you walk into a bar or a VFW, and in that 30 seconds, you can already tell.
That guy right there is drunk, that guy's an idiot, and that guy down there knows it all.
There are programs out there beyond the VA.
Many non-profit organizations. The Beer 30 Show.
It's the Beer 30 Show. Made by veterans.
For veterans.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's another edition of the Beer 30 Show, broadcasting from Denver, Colorado, and Florida. It is the Danny and Joel Show, brought to you by Common Ground Golf Course here in Aurora, Colorado. I am full of pepped energy. I drank too many Dr. Peppers, and me and Danny are talking to not only Tom, that's what his name is, but he's like an expert of the Star Wars things. Evidently, he knows more stuff than I do, which that doesn't really.
That's not saying a lot.
That's
dude.
not saying a lot, but we got a great show for everybody. Nobody expected us to be online right now. We're actually like 24 minutes past the hour, and usually we're broadcasting at like 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Monday and Fridays. In February, it's going to be around this time frame, except it's going to be 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But it's been a wild and crazy. It's been like 2 months. It doesn't even feel like that, Danny.
No, it doesn't feel like 2 months at all, Joel. I've been so busy. It's felt like it's been a week as busy as I've been. And I'm sure with your surgery and everything that you've recovered fully, and apparently a side effect is having orgasmic looks on your webcam.
I'm telling you, man. I'm excited. We got the new look thing going. We got the new sound thing going. Me and Danny, we just recently got nominated for Newcomer Award. Some kind of podcast award. Nobody even knows about it. That's how popular that award is. But just being nominated means that somebody's at least listening to us, and we've got a brand new address for our podcast now, so we're even more powerful. And yeah, I'm just excited for what this year brings. And I think me and you've been on the radio now for 6 months, and it doesn't even feel like it now.
No, not really. But, you're talking about the new year.
Yes.
Let's talk about how we ended the last year with the Star Wars that came up.
Oh, yes.
That's why we got Tom here, for everybody that knows. Tom is actually a really good friend of mine. We grew up together. I used to spend the night at his house all the time, drinking Mountain Dew and playing Turok on the Nintendo 64. Many late nights doing that stuff. I'm sure Tom can remember that. And everybody, this is Tom. He's a good friend of mine, like I said. So,
hi, Tom. Glad you're here.
How you doing, Tom?
I'm all right, man. I'm doing good. To go back to something I heard Joel mention, I'm an expert. I'm in no way an expert. I'm just a guy that read a lot of the books and was really a huge fan, especially about 95, I think it was. They re-released the original movies, what I call the original trilogy, the better ones, in my opinion. Just my opinion only. the original Star Wars and Empire and Return of the Jedi, and so I watched them, and then of course I started reading a lot of the books. So I've been a huge fan of Star Wars since, I mean, especially growing up. And when I was little, I thought it was one big movie. I'm like, where's the Ewoks? I'd be like, Dad, give me Star Wars. He's like, all right, cool. And I'm like, yeah, it's cool. Where's the Ewoks? He's like, oh, it's Return of the Jedi. I'm like, what?
Yeah. See,
it's not one big movie.
See, he's being, calm about all this. He had every Star Wars figurine on his wall, still in the packaging. Modest. He's very modest. He had everything Star Wars. Every time we go to his house, I couldn't even touch the packaging or he'd kill me.
Yeah, it wasn't that. I mean, the ones that I had growing up, I mean, I remember my parents would buy, it was real popular, because we were the same age, you and I, you're a couple of weeks younger than me, literally to the day. But I remember my folks would go and buy me like the Stormtroopers and, the Darth Vader that had the built-in lightsaber. It wasn't really a built-in lightsaber, but it was like a little plastic red piece that had a little tab on it. You pull it up into his arm so his arm couldn't articulate, but he'd I have the Schwartz. Anyways, but I had a lot of those, and I would lose them all the time because I would love playing with them so much. You go to Dairy Queen, I'm sitting there at the north end of town playing with them, like, kill the rebels. And then all of a sudden I'd lose like half of them because I'd get distracted with ice cream or something. And I'm like, I lost my Stormtroopers, Mom! It's like, oh, shut up! And then eventually they quit making half of them, but, they had the, the Ewok cartoon, those terrible Ewok movies. But, when I was 3, I thought, these are great! But, you watch them as an adult, it's like, oh.
So
these are awful.
So they actually made Ewok movies?
Oh yeah, there was like at least I want to say at least 2 or 3 they may have made, but they weren't really that great. I mean, you had like a little girl and a little boy, and like their parents were on some spaceship. They crash landed into Endor, and somehow are able to communicate with these rip-off Care Bears, and it's like that's what they always thought.
I never even knew about that. Now, are you talking about like the Ewok characters, like the cartoon characters on Saturdays?
They had. Yeah, well, okay, there was a couple things they had. There was probably like 85 or 80, mid-late 80s, no, mid-80s. There was a cartoon called Ewoks, and then, of course, they all spoke English. They didn't speak their, whatever, Ewokese or whatever, like, they actually spoke, they're all talking to each other.
Say that again. We rewind. We got to say that again now. They did what now?
They would, like, you had the Ewoks, they had their own language. If you watch the movies, I mean, they don't really, they're speaking gibberish.
I just like the way you said that.
Yeah. If you watch the movies, they were
constipated.
Oh, no. No, you'd hear them talk when they'd be like, what I mean? Like, they'd fight, they go, and they'd scream and, throw their rocks and stuff and whatever, but when they made the cartoon, they made it like probably 85. They had one with Ewoks, and they had like the same characters. You'd see essentially the same looking Ewoks, but you got to know their names. Like, for example, the one that Leia meets in Return of the Jedi, the first one she encounters with little orange hood, his name is Wicket. And so they also talk about the chief of the Ewok, and you see him when 3PO is doing a translation of everything they're doing, and he's Chief Chirpa. And there was a few others that they had, but I mean, those are the two that really stood out in the show. And they had a few others, like Wicket had a girlfriend, kind of, or at least a female Ewok that they don't think they came out and said it was his girlfriend, but it was like implied, kind of like when you see Mickey and Minnie. Right. You don't see him having babies or making babies, but that they're probably doing that on the side somewhere because they're a boyfriend. I mean, right. But they also had a cartoon. Similar animator around that same time. I think these were NBC cartoons because they also had droids, and I think it came out around the same time. They had, I don't know if you guys remember, John Candy had a cartoon called Camp Candy. It was all around that same kind of time period, when Thundercats and G.I. Joe and all that stuff was on TV. So.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. Like earlier, I wasn't making fun of you. I just thought it was kind of funny how you was doing the Ewok talking.
Oh, no.
It was just trying to lighten up things here a little bit,
I get a joy out of making, do my own impersonations. I'm at work a lot of times. If I have to call the post office because I deal in shipping and stuff, and they'll lose something, and you call these automated numbers, and they'll go, would you like to talk to? It's like, customer service. And it's like, I'm sorry, I didn't understand. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to break out a character and do a skeleton. Like, give me He-Man, or go, and they'll be like, oh, you want to talk to a human? Yes. Okay, here you go. Thanks.
So we're trying to figure out what's going on with this because I'm talking in slow motion, and so is Joel. It sounds like we're creepy little guys on a cell phone talking to people with like a deep voice, you know.
What's your favorite scary movie? You know?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, something kind of like that going on.
Oh,
right
so
now.
do we sound high like helium or
Low like bass tone?
Oh, well, that's good, dude, because I already sound like Michael Jackson with a hormone problem, so a little bit of bass.
Well,
bass
right
will
now,
hurt me.
right now you sound kind of like Bane.
Oh. Oh gosh.
Okay.
And you think this holds power over me?
Yeah, pretty much, and it's all slower. It's kind of like he has one of those voice transponders, whatever, you know, that changes up.
I have a breathing apparatus, so I guess that kind of ties into Star Wars. Vader, he had a breathing problem. You know?
Yeah, I don't know about that. The levels over here are pretty good. If you can hear what I'm saying, then I'm guessing that's good. See, this is the reason why we need a sound guy. I mean, if you can hear me, Danny, that's better than nothing.
Yeah, it's sounding better now, but you're kind of low.
Okay. Like low and deep voice, or
it's kind of hard to hear you.
Well, see, that's the reason why I was kind of like it's okay.
We'll figure it out. So anyway, let's get back to this Star Wars thing. So that we all seen the movie now. We all have our opinions about each movie. I'm sure we're in agreement that the first trilogy was the best one still. Joel, you with us on that one?
Okay, so the first trilogy, does that mean 4, 5, and 6?
Yes.
Okay, yes, I'm in agreement. Yeah, 1, 2, and 3. I love Star Wars, but 1, 2, and 3 really sucked.
Yeah.
My personal opinion.
They had aspects for me personally that were awesome, that were visually appealing, like Darth Maul, which I disagree with them killing him in the first movie. That was such a waste of time and effort. It's like, it's like, this is a great character. And then, you bring in, and I don't want to disrespect Christopher Lee, the guy that played, Lord Tyrannus, Count Dooku, because he's a great actor, and I loved him in Lord of the Rings and a lot of the other movies he did, from when we were growing up and stuff. But
is that the guy that stars in Taken and Taken 1 and Taken 2?
No, you're thinking of Liam Neeson.
You're thinking of Liam Neeson, yeah. You're thinking of Qui-Gon, dude. The one that
right.
the one that Darth Maul killed. Yeah. No, I'm talking about Count Dooku. I'm like, what a weird name. It's like, it sounds like he's like, it's Count Rat Droppings or Count Poop. I didn't really.
Count Dookie. Count Dookie.
Count Dookie. I didn't really dig that character, and I thought he was just sort of stupid and silly and out of place. I mean, there was nothing scary about the guy. He's just an old guy. It's like, ooh, Darth old guy. I mean, even Darth Sidious or the Emperor, that guy is kind of scary looking, right? I mean, because he could force lightning and shock you, whatever, like defibrillate you if you needed to. But Dooku wasn't really intimidating. He was just an old guy. And in fact, that's the other thing I thought was weird, is that all the Sith guys, with the exception of Dooku, their eyes all go kind of like this red and yellow and orange, like the dark side has penetrated their pupils. Now they don't have to wear contacts to look scary. And with him, he never did that. So I was like, well, maybe it's just because he was an old Jedi, and I don't know. I never really dug the character. That's no fault of Christopher Lee's performance. It's just terrible writing and terrible story, honestly. That's my take on it. There were from the second movie, the only thing that I took away from it that I thought was really cool was Yoda fighting Dooku. I thought seeing Yoda finally with a lightsaber, that was a great moment. But really, other than that, the only thing I liked seeing was really the clones going into battle and fighting the droids. But other than that, I mean, that's only like the last 15 minutes of the movie. So you got like, what most Star Wars movies are about 2 hours or a little over 2 hours or so in length, and so you basically got an hour and 40 minutes of just intergalactic CNN, like the trade negotiations. It's like watching a bunch of aliens dispute like gun laws and crap. It's like nobody cares. It's just whatever. It's like, I don't like how this is working. I just could not. I just couldn't keep my attention on that movie. The third movie for me was the best of the three, but that's not to say it's like it wasn't like it was really that great either, because I mean, for me, reading the books and stuff after watching the original trilogy, Anakin's set up to be like this great, awesome, very likable, down to earth hero. Like, he goes into service for king and country, and he's going to go out there and make the galactic universe a better place, and then he just sort of falls to the dark side sort of tragically, and they never go over it, and they kind of leave it a mystery, and these movies were supposed to open that up. And when you open it up the way that Lucas did it, he just kind of comes off like a little, just a little baby. I mean, I want to say, a female dog, but unfortunately I'm on the air. I don't want to curse, but I mean, it's like when I see a guy, I'm like, oh, I'm just upset. I don't get what I want. It's because if you watch the
yeah,
I don't know if you guys,
they do make him be like a wuss in that movie.
Well, it's so weird because they made the second movie, and I thought he was kind of just, he's kind of, the way the dialogue is written kind of weird anyways. It didn't seem like really natural at all, especially for a Star Wars movie. I mean, and he just sort of comes off kind of like a crybaby, and I'm like, okay, he's a young kid, whatever. But then they do the whole, the Cartoon Network actually had contacted a guy named Gene Tardovsky, and Gene Tardovsky is known for doing the Powerpuff Girls and a few other Cartoon Network shows, probably in like the mid to late 90s. And so he produced, I think they're only like 15, 20 minutes in length, but he did a bunch of little cartoons in his own animation style of the Clone Wars, kind of chronicling what happens between Obi-Wan and Anakin and them fighting Grievous and the droid army and the Trade Federation and all that stuff. And, I think it was like the last episode they show, like Anakin becomes a Jedi Knight. And then that episode's supposed to precede the very beginning of Revenge of the Sith. So if you follow that timeline, that means Anakin was only a Jedi Knight, official Jedi Knight, for like a day, and so all of a sudden he's going, I should be on the Jedi Council. I've been a Jedi Knight for like 24 hours. It's like, these are guys that have been around for a while. These are supposed to be like, Mace Windu is number 2. He's a human probably. He might be another alien. I don't know. They never really disclosed that, but if we just go based on appearances, we think, well, he's probably like in his 60s. He's been a Jedi Knight for like, probably 30, 40 years, maybe. I don't know. But, Yoda, he's almost 900. Well, he is by 900 by the time we see him in Return of the Jedi. So it just seemed out of place. Like, it's like, oh, I'm not a Jedi Knight. It's like, oh, I don't.
I'm loving your sound effects right now, Tom.
I know, right?
I'm just enjoying it.
I think that's the best thing of the show so far.
But seeing a grown man who's supposed to be like in tune with nature and the Force and all that, and all of a sudden he's like he's taking on guys like Grievous and all these droids, and he's like super powerful, and he's basically Jedi Jesus because he didn't have a father. If we watched the episode 1, he's like, oh, his mom's like, oh, I just wound up with a baby. I didn't have a husband, or I didn't touch anybody. It just sort of happened. Like, okay, so he's Jedi Jesus, and it's, I don't know. I just, it was hard for me to, I mean, when I watch his movies, I'm like, I don't want to even watch them because it makes me hate Darth Vader, because I like Darth Vader, and then later on he goes and he's like, in order for me to really become, be able to save my wife, I need to go and kill all these young kids that are Jedis. Like, you don't have to kill them. Just be like, hey, we're going to put you guys like somewhere else, like a Sith training school. But, of course they couldn't. If you read the books, I don't know if it's still canon anymore. They had suggested at one point that the Sith was this huge empire, kind of like the Jedi were. But they had, they were all a bunch of, they're all power hungry because they all follow their passions or whatever, and so they all basically wind up killing most of themselves, and then by the time the Jedi come to arrest them and kill them or fight them or cleanse the world or purge them of them, they're pretty much, their forces are dwindled down because they were too busy killing each other. So by the time they show up, it's like, oh, well, there's only half of us now. And so
the question, the question that I've got, that I was talking to Danny about, and my levels are kind of high, so I'm going to turn them down a little bit. The question that I got, Tom, is when I was talking to Danny about it, he told me to talk to you about it. What is this that I hear that Chewbacca had
Time out real quick before we get into going into the new movies and everything else. For anybody who's listening, if you haven't seen the movie, these are going to be spoilers like crazy because we are going to be dissecting this movie. So we're going to cover a lot of the main aspects. So if you've not seen it and you don't want to be spoiled, just stop listening now.
Yes. Stop listening now and just tune in Friday at 1:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now.
Or if you're listening, all right, stop listening. Take your butt to the movie and go watch it, because if you haven't seen it by now, you are not in the cool kid club. So you need to go see it.
Right,
and
just
then,
don't download this
then
podcast.
download the podcast and go back and listen to it.
Come to our website at www.thebeer30show.com and download listen to the show again, and then you can hear our opinions on the matter. Until then, now we are in episode 7.
Episode 7.
We are going to be talking about
7.
Kylo Ren, Rey, Finn.
The Force Awakens from a nap.
Yes, The Force Awakens from the nap. So we're going to get into this, and Tom and Joel already told you my opinion. I feel like it was episode 4, a remake. And I talked to Tom about it, and I think, although it felt like a remake to me, I still enjoyed the movie. So don't get me wrong, I did like the movie, but I couldn't take Kylo Ren's character seriously every time he took off his mask. And
right.
Like I said, it felt just like episode 4 for me. So, but what Joel was about to say right before I cut him off earlier was, go ahead, Joel. It's about Chewbacca. Go ahead.
Okay, so when I was talking to Danny was telling me that you was talking, Tom, about Chewbacca had a kid.
He had a kid. It's actually interesting. If you guys haven't seen it, you probably still don't want to see it. It's funny. I guess I shouldn't say that, but I did watch it and I was really confused. Back in 1978, because you figure Star Wars, which we now call A New Hope, but originally it was just simply called Star Wars. They had, after they made that movie, because a lot of people didn't want to make that movie. There was a lot of people, Lucas was going to and saying, look, I've got this great idea, and all these people were like, yeah, it sounds like crap. We aren't interested in it. And then finally somebody at Fox said, we'll take a chance on it. And after they realized how popular it was, there was a lot of things that kind of happened. The first thing that was really crazy was that they didn't realize, there was always a license agreement they could make toys, but they didn't realize that people would actually buy the toys. So that Christmas in 1977, they didn't have enough time. Kenner, which used to be out of Ohio, I think it's Cincinnati if I'm not mistaken, they produced the original Star Wars toys. And so later on, Kenner got bought out by Hasbro. Now Hasbro makes even better toys, but the originals are still really cool. But anyways, they didn't have time to actually have the toys ready for the market. Like, for Christmas, everybody's like, oh, I want to buy, Luke and Darth Vader and all these stormtroopers for my kids, but they didn't have any ready and they needed time to actually produce them. So what Kenner did is they actually made a box set in 1977, and you could actually go buy this empty box and pay whatever, I don't remember how much it retailed for at the time, but you would buy this empty box, you would send in a certificate in to Kenner, and then every month or every time they had a shipment ready, they would send you the first toy before they put them out on the shelves. So the kids actually, you got an empty box for Christmas, but it was kind of cool because for like the entire year you would get your, Stormtrooper Chewbacca.
I remember that. I remember that.
That would have been 70.
I gotta say that and then stop because Danny hasn't installed the beeper, but in the times of the beeper, I would say I remember that, and then Danny would be that burp. I remember that stuff. Remember after the Empire where they started when you bought like Luke Skywalker and then you could buy the Emperor with like so many proof of purchases. I got the Emperor. I got that mug. I had it for a day and that damn thing. Beep. See, I told you we need that beeper. I told my mom, I'm like, this sucks because that Emperor, it like fell off in a day. And no matter how imagination you could get, you could never reinstate all the scenes like you was able to on those Martell toy commercials, through Toys R Us. That like they're behind the scenes, or there's scenes that these kids make, like the Ewok tree and all this. It was always better than what it actually came out of the store, and it irritated me, especially like with the little net. It's just nice and grabbed all those little toys just like a little. It's so easy. And then when you press down on a kid, you break the damn thing.
All right. So we're going back to
Chewbacca. So I'm going to lead into that.
I ruined the
No, it's okay. No, it's all right. I have a tendency to do the same thing where like one thing will lead me onto another conversation. Like, okay, I need a map.
Lots of tangents. Lots of tangents.
Yeah. And that's how I talk too. But going back to your question about Chewbacca's kid, so a year after that, the next year in '78, Lucas was already trying to get the Empire, movie produced and everything, and so I think it was CBS walked up to him and said, we want to capitalize on this huge thing that you just started. This thing is epic, and we really want to capitalize on it. We want you to produce a Christmas special, and we went ready by November, December of 1978, and Lucas is like, I don't really have time, and they're like, you've got to figure it out. And he's like, okay, so he rushed and he's trying to put this thing together, and he makes what's called the Star Wars Holiday Special. Now, the first 10, 11, 12 minutes of this show, you see, it's like, of course, it's like made for TV, and it was shown back in '78, so you could tell when you watch it, because the one I have is a pirated copy that I got off the internet probably about 15 years ago.
Yeah, we won't talk about pirated stuff.
Well, that's the only, well, the thing is, that was the only way to get it, because Lucas was so embarrassed by this, and I'll go into this a little bit more. Okay. I mean, back in '97, when I lived in Kokomo, they had one little Comic-Con sort of thing, and Comic-Con is different to me now because I live in San Diego where the big Comic-Con is, but there was guys there who would get copies of this, and they would take, I don't know, I guess the original, they taped it on VHS back in '77, if I'm not mistaken, it was only shown once. And it was so embarrassing to Lucas, he never wanted to talk about it again. In fact, he's done everything he could to bury it and keep people from watching it. And I never could figure out why. And so I would go to these comic conventions. They would say, for $100, I will sell you a pirated copy of the Star Wars Holiday Special. I'm thinking, why would I spend that much money on this? And people are like, it's the only way you can watch it. And I'm like, that's still $100 for a VHS. And we're on DVD now. So, yeah, I think I'm going to pass. But, I mean, I did get to view a copy that somebody had. And by viewing it, I was really confused because the first 10, 12 minutes of this thing, you see people dressed up as the three of them. There's Lumpy, I think is one of them, and something else. It's like Chewbacca's like dad, Chewbacca's wife, and Chewbacca's son. And I think his son's name was Lumpy. And you see this kid, he's playing with it looks like the Kenner X-Wing fighter, and he's going, and you see this female Wookiee coming in, and she goes, they're having all these conversations, and it's all in Wookiees, right? So there's no subtitles. You don't know what the heck they're talking about. You can only imagine she's saying stop playing with that X-Wing, Junior, and go do your homework. And he's like, oh, but Mom, I need 10 more minutes. But you're guessing because it's literally people going, I'm like, whoa, this is really I'm lost. I think. I mean, I had friends that would watch it, and they seemed to like it, but I think most of them were under the influence of some sort of substance. So for me, watching it, I'm like, this is pretty whack. So, after 12 minutes of these three actors dressed as Wookiees arguing, they bring in Luke Skywalker. But you could tell it was made for TV. It wasn't like the same kind of visual effect you would get from a movie. You could definitely tell the quality was really kind of shoddy. And that was also due because Lucas literally had 8 months to try to throw this thing together. And the planet they show, which they go back, I mean, originally I think you look at Endor for the Ewoks planet, it shares a lot of similarities to Kashyyyk, which is the planet that the Wookiees are from, where Chewbacca's from. Big tall trees, redwood forest type thing. And then the rest of the movie is they show these actors like B. Arthur from the Golden Girls. She makes an appearance on there as something, and they show this Imperial guy ripping off some guy, and they show a bunch of little popular 19 B-list 70s actors. This great special, and it's okay, whatever. And then I think they ran out of thought on how to make the story go, and it's actually interesting because the '78 Christmas special also was the first appearance of a very popular character known as Boba Fett, and he made his appearance as a cartoon, and then later on, Of course, he was in The Empire. No disintegrations, and all that. He's so good to be dead, and he had like a total of maybe like 5 lines and became like the coolest character ever, But yeah, the Christmas special, if you get a chance to watch it, I think they said that they're trying to, since Disney now owns all that, I think they're more open to trying to sell anything that has the Star Wars logo on it, whereas Lucas was really embarrassed by it. Was like, no, I don't want to talk about this. I don't want to show this. I'm embarrassed. This is not a quality product to him. And I think it's kind of ironic considering that we got Jar Jar Binks, and that was definitely not a quality product, and yet he continued to defend that character, but I digress.
Yeah, from what I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, but Lucas wasn't in charge of this movie. It was actually Disney, and the new movie that just came out, I thought it was better than all of the movies combined.
Disney originally had wanted to keep him on as a consultant. They wanted to have him on and train. It's like, he's the father of Star Wars. Whether I love the man for creating the world that he created, the universe that he created. I just don't like the prequels that he tried making because I thought they were just silly and atrocious and
right.
But I have to give the guy credit. If it hadn't been for him, we wouldn't have Darth Vader, and Darth Vader is like this iconic guy. Like, he's the bad guy, and yet everybody still loves the guy because he's so cool. We got lightsabers and this whole idea of the Force and I think that was the biggest thing, too, is that you'll see this, too, if you guys ever get a chance. There's a documentary called The People versus George Lucas. It came out probably within the last 5 or 6 years. Okay. And, I think there's a large group of fans who I think they would, I don't know if they still exactly agree with me, but I think we can all kind of say, well, there's a lot of this idea that in the original trilogy, the Force was kind of presented as kind of this somewhat religious, mystical aspect thing. And then when we get to episode 1, it goes from being that to being Scientology, where it's like, well, I'm sorry, you just don't have enough of this in your blood. You can't be this religion. It's like walking up to somebody saying, well, you don't have enough crosses in your blood, so you can't be Catholic because the crosses don't have Jesus on them. I'm sorry, I don't know.
And now in this new movie, everybody has it.
Well, I don't know if everybody. I don't know if I can say everybody has it. When I walked into the movie, watching the previews, like one of the big previews they showed was with the new character FN, FN 2117, whatever Finn, right? And when they show him, I see him with a lightsaber, and I'm thinking, oh great, I don't have a problem with this guy being a Jedi, but my immediate thought was seeing this guy is that he looks pretty confident when he's holding it, and I'm thinking to myself, if you watch. Star Wars, or what we call now A New Hope. Luke didn't know what he was doing. He's
it took Luke like 3 episodes to even master it.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Because if you watch Empire, there's people that say, well, he mastered it by Empire, and that's not true either. Because he did okay for a beginner, but I think Vader knew who he was walking into that battle, and he was surprised, at the Battle of Yavin and the end of the New Hope, but. When he comes to see him face to face, like, okay, this guy, I'm gonna have to take it easy on this guy because if I go full on Force, full on Sith, this guy is I'm gonna kill my own son, and that wasn't his plan, So yeah, it took him until really 3 movies before he really mastered the ability to really be a Jedi, and including the Jedi mind trick. He didn't, and so that kind of ties into kind of the things that I had the problem with the Force Awakens, but there was if you guys get a chance, you can look at it. There's an article actually by the Huffington Post that came out within the last week or so, and the author of the article basically defends The Force Awakens and says, all these plot holes that people said that are plot holes or whatever weren't really necessarily plot holes, and we basically just need to be patient and wait for episodes 8 and 9 and whatever of the standalone movies are making in between. Wait till
the story unfolds. Me and Danny were talking about that, how Ren was really a great character if he just kept his mask on. Even though the guy is a fellow Marine, he was a lousy actor.
that mask gave him depth.
Well, there was a couple things that me and Danny talked about this before, and it really kind of and we both have the same opinion. I think is that at the beginning of the movie, they're introducing all these characters, and when you see Kylo Ren visually, he's pretty appealing. He's a pretty he's like that guy is a BA. That guy is awesome. He's the guy you don't want to You don't want to make that guy angry, kind of like Stone Cold Steve Austin. You don't want to make that one angry.
Right.
You just let him go, And, he shows up, and then you have the Poe character. He shoots at him, whatever, tries to get him from behind or whatever, and all of a sudden, in this really awesome and visually appealing effect, he turns around and just stops it using the Force, and I'm like, that's kind of cool. I mean, that is kind of cool.
Agree. That was pretty cool.
That was a cool effect, but then later on, you have him, he's at the point later on where he's having this whole conversation with Han Solo, and then Chewbacca, when he watches the whole thing unfold, he pulls on his blaster and starts shooting. And, rather than using the Force like he just did like an hour earlier into the movie, he just sits there and goes, oh, okay, and falls down. I'm like, no, if you're that awesome, Force to be reckoned with, he would turn around and go, yeah, that's not going to work either.
Right, you dodged the bullet.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like that was weird to me, because it's like, if we accept that Kylo Ren is truly the son of Han Solo, which he must be because Han was trying to reach out to him and everything, then he would know that Chewbacca has a life debt to Han Solo, because Han Solo originally was part of the Empire. He was a cadet. He was stationed on Kashyyyk. He saw some bad stuff going down, didn't agree with it. He protected Chewbacca, saved his life, and Chewbacca's like, I owe you my life. I'm going to, like a life debt contract thing. So he would always be there. That's why Chewbacca was always with Han Solo. I mean, because he owed his life to him. He it was like, I guess like a brother to him. That's how he viewed it. And so for him to, he knew Chewbacca had to be there. Come on. I mean, it's like, oh, my dad's here. It's not like Chewbacca goes home and says, hey, Chewbacca wanted to go home and knit a scarf. No, he's around the corner somewhere. And for him to go, oh, I didn't realize he was going to shoot, his gun at me. I don't know. It just seemed a little weird. I would have been like, stop, stop it with the Force, but he didn't. So I thought that was a little weird.
So here's the question, Tom, with all the stuff that you've read, because you're a little bit more of an expert than me and Danny put together, I believe.
Well, yeah, he says he's not an expert. But
yeah.
He's sitting there different timelines,
right,
this date,
exactly.
this town, this toy. I mean, come on.
So the question
I'm just a fan. That's it, man.
Whatever. Is Rey Skywalker's daughter or Han Solo's daughter? That is the question.
That's a great question, and I don't really know. Based on what I'm seeing on the internet and what people have been stating, it sounds like they're going to try to lead off that it might be Luke's daughter. But the thing about it is if you again, most of the stuff that I've read, these books they made, Lucas back in the '80s when they were, after Return of the Jedi, they had made all the, they said we can make these extra stories to keep people interested. We call it for a long time that was known as the expanded universe. So you had. After the Battle of Endor with Return of the Jedi, there was all this stuff. The Empire was trying not to collapse, and later on they bring the Emperor back, and the Emperor was a clone, and somehow he was able to keep his consciousness somewhere free-floating and then reinsert it into the new copy of himself and go, I'm the young Emperor, and all this. And so in that whole storyline they did, Han and Leia actually wound up having 3 kids. They had 2 kids. They had twins named Jason and Jaina, and they were pretty powerful. And then later on, they had a third son, which this is kind of weird. They named him Anakin, which is kind of odd because if you read the book, The Truce at Bakura, which takes place, it's supposed to be a story that was written so it takes place the day after the Battle of Endor. Anakin Skywalker comes back as a ghost, and he approaches Leia, and he's like, I'm really sorry about all this happened. I didn't realize I was your father. I wish, I'm very proud of you. You're a strong woman, a strong leader. And she's like, I don't care. DGAS, get on my life. I don't want anything to do with you.
Tom, do you know where we can get these book or audio versions of these books so that we can...
If you can look them up. I mean, the thing is, though, is it's all part of that expanded universe. And as of, the last couple of years with Lucasfilm being acquired by Disney, these books and stories, while are no longer considered part of the canon Star Wars universe, because there was a lot of debate about that when Disney bought it. They go, oh, wait a minute. The Skywalker he gets married to, there's a character in the expanded universe known as Mara Jade. She's like this really attractive, redheaded lady who was trained by the Emperor to be kind of a Sith assassin. She wasn't trained to be a Sith Lord or a Sith apprentice, but just to be like an assassin who knew how to use the Force. And she was sent to kill Skywalker. And then later on, they fell in love and actually got married and had a kid named Ben. And so I thought it was kind of weird that they gave, the Han Solo son the name Ben. But in that timeline, which is now called, they don't call it the Expanded Universe anymore. As of the last year or two, Disney calls it the Star Wars Legends line. So they're saying it's not that it didn't get produced. We're just saying it's not part of our story. So I would say, if you want to read those books, they're fun. I just don't know if you're more into the movies and you're wanting to follow the way that Disney's doing it. Those stories aren't going to necessarily tie into that universe. There may be aspects that might be similar. For example, in this movie, and I don't know if Danny, I don't know if you kind of caught it too, but it sounded like that after Luke, after the battles and after the Empire started dissolving, that Luke had created his own Jedi Academy. Mm-hmm. And it sounds like he trained Ben or Kylo Ren, and that Kylo had kind of, went nuts and he killed everybody or whatever, kind of like what what Anakin did when the Jedi Temple was around. Yeah. So in the expanded universe, or what we call the Star Wars Legends line, Luke does start an academy, and in fact, he trains all three of his nieces and nephews, and then later on, their son, which is why it's kind of tying in. It's kind of I know it's a little bit prolonged, a little long, but Jason Solo in that universe, he actually had become one with the Force, like while he was alive, fighting like these things called the Yezong Bong. They were like these anti-Force aliens. They couldn't be sensed using the Force. There's some sort of weird thing that exists outside of the known Star Wars universe or whatever, like shadow people or something. And at some point, Jason merges with the Force, and he's able to kind of help the New Republic defeat them. But afterwards, he kind of goes mad with power and becomes sort of a Sith. And his sister winds up fighting him, and she defeats him. So, but Anakin in that universe, Anakin Solo, he dies. But before he dies, Chewbacca actually sacrificed himself to save Anakin Solo, and then of course later Anakin Solo dies too. But in that universe, there was a boy and a girl, and when I saw Rey interacting with Kylo Ren, the first thing, going back to Kylo Ren, looking past all these things that a lot of people have argued are plot holes, which I kind of still kind of are. But the thing that I can't walk away from, I can't answer by saying I need to watch the next two movies is, the moment he pulls off that mask, I'm like, put it back on! Put it back on! Put it back on! You're just an emo! You're just an emo! Go back to Hot Topic! Go back to Hot Topic! Put the mask back on! It's just, he's like, my name's Kylo, and, my mom and daddy wouldn't let me play with my PlayStation before last night, so I got a lightsaber and killed them, I'm like, I'm like, oh God, they've ruined the character, a guy that I knew when we watched Attack of the Clones, he was really mad when we watched the second movie, and he said, and it kind of goes into this whole thing, I feel, when you have a character who has a mysterious past or they have a mask, don't reveal who they are, because most of the time you're going to be disappointed severely. Wolverine, great character from the X-Men, love the guy, but they start trying to reveal his origin, and it's like, no, he should be a nutcase who doesn't know where he came from. Keep it a mystery. It kind of adds a little flavor to the character, and people want to kind of read it. But now that I think he's just some Canadian guy that, got bone claws and killed his daddy by accident, I don't know. It just seemed kind of weird, and I don't really care anymore. It kind of takes away from that mystery. Same thing with Boba Fett. I know a guy that watched Attack of the Clones, and he saw Jango Fett, and he goes, oh, so Jango just made a clone of himself, and that's Boba. And I'm like, yeah, and he goes, well, he's just some Mexican guy, and I'm like, well, he's not Mexican. He's actually from New Zealand, but he's like, for a long time, there's a lot of speculation. Was Boba Fett a girl? Was it an alien? Was it a wolf man? Was it Bill Clinton? We don't know. It could be anything. And now you just said it's just this guy who's just a guy. And so it's kind of like, at least those it's kind of deflating. But with Kylo Ren, it was more than deflating. It was like, oh, it's kind of like when, it reminds me kind of Cabal from Mortal Kombat 3 when he had his fatality where he took off his mask and he's like, and his eyes pop out like a cartoon character. It's like, you scarred my soul. Like, this is awful. This is completely depressing. I mean, it would have been funnier if they put a baby's face in there and CGI'd a baby's face.
Okay. So, Tom, we're running out of time right here. Let me ask you a couple really quick questions. So we have the same opinion on Kylo Ren. Great with a mask on, terrible with it off.
Right.
So would you do
kind of like some of the girls we dated in high school?
Yeah, there you go.
Kind of girls Danny dated in high school.
We're not gonna go there. Oh, we could talk about that for another whole day. But anyway, so do you think Rey is Solo or Skywalker's kid, or somebody we haven't? What's your opinion? What do you think?
Walking into the movie, there's a couple of scenes where I felt like it was going to be. Where I want to go and say, I think she's going to be, Solo's kid, because she makes some comments. He's like, I don't need this, and he's like, yeah, I know, that's why I'm giving it to you. Like, she's like, I can defend myself on my own. He's like, yeah, I know, that's exactly why I'm giving it to you. And I almost felt like, because there was that kind of that synergy they had where she's talking about like, oh, this guy Unkpar Plot or whatever his name was, he was reconfiguring the Falcon. And, they have these kind of moments where, like, they're in sync with one another, like, oh, yeah, that seems like a good idea. And, like, she really, really, like, loves the Falcon like he did. And so...
A lot of similarities between Solo and her, yeah.
Right, yeah. And so it's like, well, I kind of feel like it could be his daughter. But then, it's like, well, Luke's kind of gotten older, too. And I would imagine that he probably would have maybe had a kid. But then at the same time, it's like, either way you go, though, here's the problem I have with it. Why would they leave the poor little kid on the planet? Like, you're here. You know what, kid? We're just gonna abandon you. Here's a rod. Here's this crappy planet full of probably weird drug addicts and child molesters. But you know what? You go, girl. And to just do that, it just seemed kind of weird. Now, of course, again, going back to what the author of that Huffington Post article had said is, we haven't seen episode 8, we haven't seen episode 9. Maybe there's something tied in there, but it's still hard for me as a viewer to go, I can rationally accept this is okay because it seems like child abandonment. But maybe she was left with somebody like Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru. But even still, it seemed odd. So I'm inclined to believe. I still want to believe that it's the Solo's kids. I want to believe it's Leia and Han's kid. But everybody on the internet now, since this movie has come out, is going and saying, no, it's got to be Luke's kid because we have to see Luke because she's so powerful with the Force, and Leia never really used the Force. I'm like, yeah, but neither did Shmi Skywalker, Anakin's mom, but he comes out and he's like super, awesome control with the Force. So I don't know.
All right, Tom. When I say quick questions, I need quick answers.
I know, dude. We gotta get going.
Yeah, we gotta get going. So, I mean, we could talk about Star Wars all day, and I know how much you love it, so we can sit there forever. But I always thought it was a remake of Episode 4 because it's the same thing. Person started up on a desert planet, to rescue somebody. You get in the Falcon, you take off. The whole premise is,
and the droid has the droid has the plans.
Yeah. And at the very end, you got the big Death Star. It's bigger than the other one, and then it kills 5 planets
it's funny
instead of 1.
And even Hans made the comment. He's like, well, it's kind of like when we took on the Death Star. It's like, well, this is bigger than the Death Star. He's like, okay, it's a bigger version of the Death Star. It's like, okay.
so all this stuff, and then like a main character dies. Like in Episode 4, it was brain fart Jedi
Obi-Wan
Kenobi, yeah. Uh-huh. And then this time it's Han Solo, and it's like, okay, a mentor both dies in these movies, and then everything. Joel, what was your overall opinion of the movie?
My overall opinion was I liked it better than all the Star Wars combined. With that being said, I hate to cut us off, but we got to go because the next DJ is coming up. So if you're listening to this, stay tuned here pretty soon in the next 10 minutes. And Play It All Paul will be coming on momentarily. Tom, thank you so much for you coming on the show and talking about this. You educated a lot of us. And I don't know about that. We're not going to have any time for the power play, but we will say that this whole episode was brought to you by not only Common Ground Golf Course here in Aurora, Colorado, but it was also brought to you by Tee It Up for the Troops, raising money for disabled vets using golf as playing. They were the ones that donated the shirts that we still be handing out to this day. So, with that being said, Tom, I really appreciate it, man. We're going to have to get you back on.
That'd be great.
In February, the next time. Then we have a full hour. Me and Danny will be on Monday and Friday this coming February, starting at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for a full hour. And if Danny has nothing else to say, me and Danny will see everybody here, same bat time, same bat channel, next Friday when we talk to Bobby Hinlin, a comedian that dedicates his time to help wounded warriors get from the front line to the finish line in comedy.
That sounds like it'd be a fun episode. I can't wait to talk to a comedian. Tom, thank you once again for being on the show. I'm sure you did inform a lot of us of stuff we didn't know, because I know half that stuff I didn't know.
Or stuff you didn't care about.
Or stuff, yeah, that too. But like Joel said, we'll probably bring you on the show sometime next month. I mean, Deadpool is coming out, and you're also my comic person I normally go to, so I'm sure we'll talk about that.
With you guys. So I have my Deadpool shirt on and my Boba Fett hat on, man. I'm ready for Deadpool too. Yeah, that'll be great.
Well, thank you again, Tom. I'm sure I'll call you here in a few minutes. So, Joel, let's go ahead and wrap it up, buddy.
All right, Tom. I appreciate it, brother. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. And thank you all for serving our country too. All the folks that listen, you guys broadcast a lot of vets and such, and folks that are in the military. So thank you all for your service and protecting our country, man.
I appreciate it, and everybody. If you want to follow Tom, do you got a Twitter handle or anything?
I don't use Twitter, but you can find me on Facebook. If you look for a Tom Sorrell, Sorrell, you'll see that I'm dressed up in a profile picture as what I call corporate Skeletor. So I'm wearing like a mask I made to look like Skeletor. And if you see a guy looking like a Skeletor sitting in like in a business suit, kind of like a lawyer profile picture, yes, that's probably me. So yeah, if you really,
that's not probably you. That is you. All righty.
All right, everybody. Thank you once again for listening to the Beer30 Show. And coming up next is Play It All Paul. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Me and Danny signing off, saying, till next time, bye.
Bye-bye.
Rockin' the troops.
Bruce Springsteen, Elton John, the Beatles, people that paved the way for us.
Ladies and gentlemen,
I'm David Bowie.
Hi, this is Jimmy Page.
Hello, this is Rod Stewart.
Saluting those who have made the ultimate sacrifice for their country.
rock and roll.
We'll ride if you wanna rock and roll. This is MBR.